Welcome back to the National Broadcasting Company,
or NBC. Thanks for joining us today.
We're your anchors,
Barbara,
Evelyn,
Betty,
and Doris, and today we're talking about
women's fads,
arts and literature,
and new entertainment.
Thanks for watching!
Here on NBC, my fellow reporters and I will be discussing a few of the hot topics today, but first we'll give you a little bit of background information on our broadcasting system. We were the first permanent full-service radio network in the United States. Originally, we were owned by the Radio Corporation of America that was formed by several large American companies after World War I. Our first ever radio broadcast was on November 15, 1926, and it was broadcasted to about half the country. The first broadcast ranging from coast to coast was on New Year's Day in 1927. Moving on to new entertainment and fads, we have the radio. Recently, the radio has been taking over the market. Almost 60% of Americans own one of these copacetic gadgets. Holy moly, that's a lot of radios. And their popularity is increasing every day. With the radio, families can now gather around and listen in on operas, classical music performances, sporting events, weather reports, political commentary, and other things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to attend. On the other hand, there is one problem that almost every broadcasting company faces: the competition for airtime. Fortunately, we have not had any interruptions so far. Oh, never mind. I think it's those dumb Doras from CBS Radio. They're always trying to steal our airtime. Someday we'll have to bump them off. Another kind of technology that's taking over markets is the Model T, which is also known as the Tin Lizzie. Built by the Ford Motor Company, this automobile is the ideal car for middle-class families because of its low cost, durability, and versatility. Its price has lowered since 1908 when it was about $850. Now it's only about $300. Unfortunately, the Model T is only available in the color black because it needs to be produced fast enough to keep up with the rate it's being sold. Between 1913 and 1927, Ford factories produced more than 15 million Model Ts. I think we can all agree that the Model T has revolutionized the way people travel. People can finally give those dogs a break from all that walking they're doing. The last thing I have to talk about in the entertainment world is George Herman Ruth, better known as Babe Ruth. Born on February 6, 1895, Babe Ruth has grown to become a dominant figure in the baseball world. During last night's baseball game, Babe Ruth hit 3 consecutive home runs to put the Yankees ahead. Babe Ruth may just be the greatest baseball player of all time. Even off the field, he's a true role model. He visits children in hospitals to cheer them up, and he's a very kind-hearted person overall. Before he joined the Yankees, he played for the Red Sox, where he set the record for the most scoreless innings in the World Series, as well as another record of 29 home runs while he was a member of their team. Since he's been on the Yankees, more and more people come to fill the stands to watch him play, especially after he set the record of 54 home runs in a single season, while most players only had 19. He even continues to break his own records as his career progresses. What a swell guy. Aside from the technology side of the entertainment world, people all over New York City are talking about the Cotton Club. It was previously known as Club Deluxe until about 1923 when it was renamed by Oni Madden. Though the manufacturing and selling of alcohol was illegal, Madden was able to keep the club open because of his political connections. However, the Cotton Club is not just some place to get a drink or two. They offer lots of forms of entertainment such as singing, dancing, comedy, jazz music, and variety acts. Oftentimes, the Cotton Club will have African Americans perform to help launch their careers. However, they will put up decorations to create a jungle-like atmosphere. The segregation is causing riots in Harlem, and it looks like the Cotton Club may have to close down at some point.
Gun hard, got to get him itself. Come on out of that. Gun hard, got to get him itself. Come on out of that. Hold it in and live your time. Hold it in.
Jazz and the blues can sometimes blend together, but the blues has its own set of differences that make the music style unique. The blues' lyrics often deal with personal adversity relating to situations such as speaking one's emotions, overcoming a hard time, getting out of a frustrating situation, or simply having fun. This form of music's purpose is to evoke emotion in its audience, whatever that feeling may be. Like jazz, the blues originated in African American history. Sharecroppers of the 19th century sang in the fields as they worked, as it allowed them to express themselves in a restricted environment. Unlike jazz, however, the blues did not receive as much attention until later. Depending on the region of America, the blues had a different sound, such as the Chicago blues and Memphis blues. Another interesting form of the blues are jug bands, which use both conventional and unconventional instruments to make music. Jazz music, which originated in New Orleans in the earlier 1900s, also defined the age of the 1920s. As more job opportunities opened up in Northern America, the sound of jazz spread across the nation as musicians began to spread out, mainly in Chicago. Kansas City, with many nightclubs, cabarets, and dance halls, were also a haven for jazz musicians. Prohibition, which was the illegalization of alcoholic beverages in America, was the source of many of these flourishing job opportunities, since speakeasies, also known as secret bars where alcohol was illegally sold, became much more popular in this period. Jazz in America would be nothing without its talented musicians, the big cheeses of jazz. Some recognizable names include Louis Armstrong, Sidney Bechet, Duke Ellington, and Coleman Hawkins. Each of these people are known for their specific instrument professions, like the trumpet or the saxophone. Jazz music was a landmark in the modernization of music, giving the United States a new sound for the Film was one of the biggest industries that blossomed in this decade. Most of the production is located in or around the west coast of Hollywood. Overall, this industry created about $2 billion by the mid-20s. There are nearly 20 major movie studios. The 5 most popular studios, often referred to as the Big Five, are 20th Century Fox, RKO Pictures, Paramount Pictures, Warner Bros., and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. At the start of the modernization of film, silent movies were the dominant products of the decade. Even in this early stage, movies were organized into genres. Some of the most popular genres to make are swashbucklers, historical films, and melodramas. However, all sorts of other movie types are also made often. One of the biggest silent movie creators is Charlie Chaplin, considered the big cheese of this form of film. His over-exaggerated physical comedy became a huge hit with audiences. The invention of talkies, however, started a new age of film. Movie actors had to adjust from acting similar to charades to expressing emotions through their lines. Overall, the beginning of the film industry changed the way Americans see and receive their entertainment, which will continue to evolve and grow in later decades or even centuries.
Soap operas were defined by the people who listened to them, the housewives of this era. While the kids were at school and their husbands were at work, the soap operas were broadcast for women cleaning the house. This was the cat's meow for the ladies of the 20s. Many defined soap operas by their sponsors. If cleaning products sponsored the show, then it would be a soap opera. Often cleaning ads would be integrated into the script of the play, and sometimes they would be outside the script. The ladies listening would hear ads for the products that they could use while doing the varied chores they were doing as they listened, hearing their favorite characters advocate for a new product. The other defining feature of a soap opera is the serial nature. Shows would be a series instead of just a day, so that listeners would tune into the same radio station for their favorite characters while cleaning the house every day. The first soap opera is most often cited as Painted Dreams, made by Erna Phillips. Erna Phillips was known as the Queen of Soaps, creating 18 soap operas on both the mediums of radio and television. From the radio performance to the performances of the stage and screen, we have Al Jolson from the jazz scene.
Everything seems lovely.
He was born in Russia in 1886 and made his first stage appearance in D.C. in 1899, joining a minstrel show in 1909. Then in New York City, he was first featured in musicals, him being famous for his high-energy acts that often included blackface. I don't know about you, but that gives me the heebie-jeebies. He was also known for a lot of vibrato and white gloves. As well as the jazz singing, he also appeared in a few movies. These include The Jazz Singer, his first, The Singing Fool, and Swanee River. While some historians call Al Jolson a revolutionary artist, his racist tendencies are all wet. It is important to acknowledge the racism of the times incorporated in Al Jolson's performances with blackface and minstrel shows in general. However, this is a bunch of banana oil and horse feathers. Louis Armstrong was also a big cheese in the 20s. Born in New Orleans, at first life was lousy, leaving the 5th grade to support his family. However, he grew up to be one of the most influential performers in America. Armstrong popularized scat singing and changed the world of jazz with daring rhythms and solos. In the 20s, Armstrong made his music for Oaken Records in Chicago with his Hot 5 and Hot 7. The musical ideas in this era of Armstrong's life influenced jazz into a solo artist's game. Armstrong was popular in the States, but the bee's knees abroad as well. In the mid-50s, some of his setbacks included racism from critics and multiple unhappy relationships. However, he finally was happy with the keen Lucille Wilson, a Cotton Club dancer, who he wed in 1942 and would not part with until his death in 1971. His influence will always perpetuate through American culture and continue to inspire many people around the world. Moving on to our final topic, women in the 1920s, let me introduce you to the lovely Empress of Blues, Bessie Smith.
My man's got a heart like a rock cast in the sea.
Miss Smith was the highest paid black performer of her day. She was a blues singer, and a woman at that. She was a performer with a wide spectrum of ability. Bessie could sing, dance, and act. Her music was bluesy, country, and rich. Her biographer, Chris Albertson, has said, Betty had a wonderful way of turning adversity into triumph, and many of her songs are the tales of liberated women. She indeed turned triumph into success and sales. Her first recording sold an estimated 800,000 copies, establishing her as a major figure in the African-American record market. Between 1923 and her death in 1933, she would record 160 influential tracks. Her promising musical career was sadly cut short by a car crash in 1937 from injuries she sustained. However, she's made it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and after her death, she's won a few Grammys for her musical entrepreneurship.
Interrupt this regular broadcasting with breaking news.
Albert Fall, Secretary of the Interior under President Harding, is the first public figure to be arrested while holding a cabinet position. The once ritzy White House is infatuated with corruption.
He was involved in the Teapot Dome scandal. Fall granted Harry F. Sinclair exclusive rights to the Teapot Dome oil reserves and similar rights to E. Dowdy of Albany for reserves in California.
Now, back to your regularly scheduled program.
Are they spending their whole weekly paycheck at the bar before they even step through the door on Friday night? Is Giggle Water destroying your once swell relationship? Then vote to ratify the 18th Amendment, which will ban the manufacture, transportation, and sale of intoxicating liquors. This amendment is estimated to quickly show a 30% drop in alcohol consumption by the Internal Revenue Service and, if needed, transferred to the United States Justice Department. Although wise, if this law does win enough votes to be ratified, you must watch out for bootleggers who will try to illegally manufacture and sell liquor called hooch. Let's ratify the 18th Amendment and make ossified husbands no more. You're probably aware of the new woman sweeping the nation, the flapper. Flappers are not your average dumb Doras. Rather, they dress revealing, smoke, drink, dance, drive, and vote. Flappers choose activities to please themselves, not their husband. One of the most popular pastimes for flappers is dancing. They do dances such as the Charleston, Black Bottom, and the Shimmy. A flapper's fast-paced dancing fits perfectly with their fast-paced lifestyle. As Henry Ford's Model T is becoming increasingly more popular among consumers, flappers insist on riding in them and even driving them. Many of you may remember the Gibson girls. Probably your mothers or grandmothers were one of them. Although today's generation, the flappers, work to seclude themselves from any previous Gibson girl morals. One of the ways they certainly do this is by smoking. Mothers and grandmothers across the nation are shocked and appalled that their cat's meow daughter is smoking, an act usually only done by men. They engage in a lot of the city's nightlife. They also frequently visit jazz clubs and speakeasies, where some flappers develop the same carefree attitude towards prohibition as males.